North of the city of Homestead, in the state of Florida, USA, there is a unique structure which can rightfully be called the eighth wonder of the world. This is Coral Castle, built with a mysterious man named Edward Leedskalnin. Coral Castle presents it is a whole complex of numerous megaliths, the weight of which reaches 30 tons. And everything would be fine if not for the secret of a man whose height was a little over 1.5 meters, who built all this alone. Scientists around the world still do not understand how he managed to build complex with a total weight of more than 1,000 tons, in connection with which many of the most fantastic versions and assumptions. It is reliably known that Leedskalnin carried out his construction at night, when no one's prying eyes could watch him. At the same time, he used elementary instruments, most of which were homemade. Neighbors claimed to have seen as if a mysterious builder was literally carrying multi-ton blocks through the air at night. Due to this led to rumors that he allegedly managed to overcome gravity. Leedskalnin himself, to a question from one of the contemporaries, how he managed to build such a grandiose structure alone, answered that he knows the secret of the construction of the Egyptian pyramids. One way or another, but the mystery of the Coral Castle still remains unresolved. In this video, I will tell you about who Edward Leedskalnin was. I will also show you the most remarkable features of its unique complex. Edward Leedskalnin was born on January 12, 1887, in the Ligurian province of the Russian Empire, now Latvia. Almost nothing is known about his childhood. He lived in a poor family and completed his studies at school only until the 4th grade, after which he became interested in stone cutting and stone cutting. In 1910, Leedskalnin leaves Latvia. As he later said, this happened after how he became engaged to a 16-year-old girl named Agnes Skoof, who broke off the engagement in the night before their wedding. It is believed that the bride's father prevented the wedding without receiving the promised money from the groom. An interesting fact is that on the territory of the Coral Castle, red roses are still planted, supposedly the favorite flowers of that same Agnes. Leedskalnin initially settled in London, but a year later he moved to Canadian Halifax, and since 1912 he lived in the USA, moving from Oregon to California, and from there to Texas, working in timber camps. In 1919, after an exacerbation of tuberculosis, Leedskalnin moves to Florida, where the warmer climate makes it easier for him to bear progressive form of the disease. During his wanderings around the world, Leedskalnin became interested in the study of sciences, with particular emphasis on astronomy and the history of ancient Egypt. Over the next 20 years of his life in Florida, Leedskalnin built a unique structure, which he called Stone Gate Park, dedicating it to the girl who rejected him many years ago. Construction of the castle began when, in 1920, Leedskalnin bought a small piece of land. This happened in the town of Florida City with a population of 8,000 people. Construction was carried out in the strictest secrecy. To avoid prying glances and not give away secrets, Edward worked alone and only after sunset. Still remains unknown how he single-handedly delivered huge limestone blocks weighing several tens of tons, moved, processed, erected by a friend onto each other, and fastened without the use of cement or other mortar. It should be noted, however, that Edward Leedskalnin was a small man, no more than 152 centimeters, and his weight never exceeded 55 kilograms. In 1936, on the site adjacent to Leedskalnin, it was planned to build a multi-story residential building. In this regard, Edward decides to move his building to another place. He is purchasing a new property 10 miles north of Florida City in Homestead, hires a truck with the help of which he transports his creation to a new location. At the same time, he loads and unloads the truck himself, again, without witnesses. According to the driver, he drove the car and, at the owner's request, left. And when he returned at the appointed time, the car was already fully loaded. For the complete relocation of all buildings, and it took Leedskalnin 3 years to erect them in a new place. At Homestead, Edward continued work on the construction of the castle until his death in 1951. According to the honors of scientists' ultimately account, Leedskalnin mined and processed more than 1,100 tons of limestone, turning them into fantastic buildings. Despite the fact that the castle is called coral, it is actually made of aeolite or aeolitic limestone. This material is commonly found in southeast Florida. By the way speaking, these stones have a very sharp surface and cut your hands like a knife. To the Coral Castle complex includes a large number of buildings and structures. The main one is a 2-story square tower weighing 243 tons. Edward used the first floor of the tower for workshops, the second for residential premises. Next to the tower there is a pavilion with a bath and a well. The castle grounds are decorated various stone sculptures, including a stone map of Florida, the planets Mars and Saturn, weighing 18 tons, a 23-ton month, a sundial, which can be used to determine the time from accurate to the minute, a huge table in the shape of a heart, a rocking chair, a fountain, and much more. The tallest structure of the Coral Castle is a 12-meter obelisk, weighing 28.5 tons. On the obelisk, Edward carved out several dates, the year of his birth, as well as the years when construction and moving of the castle began. One of the few photos of Kalnin himself posing against the background of this obelisk you can see on the screen. The heaviest monolith, weighing more than 30 tons, serves as one of the blocks of the northern walls. By the way, the weight of this block of stone is greater than the average weight of stones in the famous "The Uniqueness of the Building." The secrecy during its construction and the fact that a huge castle was built just one person with a height of 152 nepati and a weight of 45 kilo gave rise to a huge number of theories and versions regarding the technologies used by Edward Leedskalnin. According to one version, Edward punched there were holes in the limestone slabs, into which he then inserted old car shock absorbers, heated to high temperatures. He then allegedly poured cold water and shock absorbers on them, split the stone. According to another version, Leedskalnin used electromagnetic resonance in favor. This version is allegedly said by a strange device discovered on the castle grounds. Speaks out the assumption that with its help, Edward could obtain an electromagnetic field, reducing huge stones to almost nothing. Another version explaining the mystery of the buildings stated Ray Stoner in his book, The Mystery of the Queen's Castle. He believes that Edward Leedskalnin possessed the secret of controlling anti-gravity. According to his theory, our planet is covered with some kind of energy grid, and concentration occurs at the intersection of its lines of force. Energy that allows you to move even very heavy objects with ease. According to Stoner, it is in southern Florida, where Ed built his castle, that there is a powerful diamagnetic pole, thanks to which Ed managed to overcome the forces of gravity, creating the effect of levitation. There are many other versions according to which Edward used torsion fields, sound waves, and so on and so forth. Leedskalnin himself never revealed his secrets, and to all questions he answered, "I discovered the secret of the pyramid builders." Only once did he answer in more detail. "I learned how the Egyptians and ancient builders in Peru, Yucatan, and Asia, using primitive tools, they lifted and installed multi-ton stone blocks." Over the years of his life, Leedskalnin published 5 brochures, including The Life of Minerals, Plants and Animals, Magnetic Flux, and Magnetic Basis. These works carefully are being studied by researchers in the hope that the eccentric architect could have left in them at least some hints of revealing your secrets. For example, in his work, Magnetic Flux, he wrote, "A magnet is a substance which constantly circulates in metals, but every particle in this substance is itself a tiny magnet. They are so small that there are no barriers for them. Go through metal is even easier for them than through air. Magnets are in constant motion. If this movement is channeled in the right direction, you can get a source of enormous energy. On November 9, 1951, Edward Leedskalnin suffered a stroke and was admitted to Jackson Hospital in Miami. He died 28 days later from a kidney infection at the age of 64. After the death of Leedskalnin, the castle became the property of his closest relative, a nephew from Michigan named Harry. In 1953, Harry sold the property to a jeweler, who in 1981 resold it to the company for $175,000 US. This is the company owns the castle today, turning it into a museum and tourist attraction in Florida. In 1984, by decision of the American government, Coral Castle was included in the National Register Historical Sites of the country. More than 100,000 tourists visit it annually. What do you think about the faces of Kalnin and his Coral Castle? Write about it in the comments. If you liked this video, please like and subscribe to the channel. Thank you.